guys, so for today's video, I am super excited. It is going to be a collab with Vicky over at Nightmare Maven. So basically, she's going to be filming the original 2002 Cabin Fever, which happens to be one of my favorite films, and I'm going to be reviewing the 2016 remake. So spoilers ahead, because I am going to be going into details and comparing the two films. So if you haven't seen either of them, maybe watch, I'm gonna say, the original, and then come back and watch this review. Basically, if you have not seen the remake, but you have seen the original, it is a shot-for-shot remake of the original. And we will go ahead and get into that. So definitely make sure that you check out Vicky's video as well. I will leave a link in the description below to hers. So hers should be up at the same time. So let's go ahead and just get into what I did and didn't like about this film. So for my pros, I'll just go ahead and get into those first. I will say I liked the fact that it was scene for scene shot of the remake. They used the same original screenplay for this film as for the original, so it really is like I don't like to say shot for shot, but scene for scene, and I actually really like that. I know that there's a lot of people that don't like when films try to exactly copy it. I really don't think there's any other way that you can do Cabin Fever film other than doing it exactly like it was intended and originally written. Another thing that I liked about it, and kind of one of the only real changes, like there's a few changes here and there, obviously, one of the real noticeable changes between the original film and this remake is that the cop deputy Winston was actually played by a woman this time around, and I thought that she did a really good job. I thought it was a really smart move because the character is supposed to be creepy and kind of unsettling, which obviously he is in the original, but I thought that she did a really good job because it kind of seems like the Bert character who's talking to her kind of seems to, I don't want to say undermine necessarily, but overlook, I suppose, just how kind of weird and unsettling she is at first during their conversation. He says, and I get that she's a cop, you can't really just okay, well, you're weird, I'm not gonna talk to you, I'm gonna leave. But he doesn't really even try to get out of the conversation. He's really telling her everything, almost everything that happens. I mean, he doesn't go into grave detail, but he does obviously tell her that, some creepy guy was coming by, bothering them, and really gets into that, which, I mean, obviously with the state in which their vehicle was in, she knew something was going on, but he doesn't even really try to cover anything up. She's asking him, oh, so you guys are partying, and he's just like, yeah, and it's going into all of this. It's not till the very end of the conversation that he kind of tries to pick up on, oh, okay, she's really strange, and then tries to kind of back out of the conversation. So I thought that she did a really good job, and I thought that was a really smart move. The other thing was the characters were a little bit smarter in this film, I felt like, than in the original, as far as when it goes to the cleaning and stuff. So when they're trying to clean the car, they have on gloves and scarves. In the original, they don't, I don't believe, though they're a little bit more well protected in this film, but unfortunately those are basically my only pros for this film. Okay, so I will just hop into what I didn't like about this film, and let's just start from the very beginning. So one of the things that I didn't really like from the start is when they stop to, I guess, get beer. Is when they stop at the store, the guy at the store gives them like a full-on warning. He's like, bad stuff happens at that cabin. You don't need to go up to that cabin. Which happens a lot in cabin type films, but it was just so unnecessary to me, I guess, to have like this character that's like giving them this full-on warning that they don't even fucking listen to. I thought that was pretty silly and kind of ridiculous. Honestly, I had really no connection to these characters. I really didn't feel anything for them. If there wasn't an original film to go by, I probably wouldn't remember who any of these characters were. The only thing was remembering who they were in the original film. To be honest, they're pretty unforgettable. There's really no connection. You don't really feel at all bad for any of these characters, and that's like a bummer. Like you want to kind of feel bad for these people, but you really don't, because they're all just kind of horrible, except for Paul. And one of the changes that they made that kind of bothered me was the way the disease seems to affect people. So, like the Karen character, for instance. So when she gets sick, you find out that she's sick because her and Paul finally decide to hook up, and she's all like, oh my god, I'm in pain, like stop. And he pulls back his hand and it's got blood and skin and grossness all over, and she looks down and sees that she's like completely peeling. She starts to fucking lose it. She is screaming and freaking the fuck out and like just being so dramatic, so over the top, and that kind of bothered me. That seemed to be how this disease affected people. Like once they started to really get sick, they would be so over the top, so dramatic about it. And I get it, like it's probably painful, and if you saw that you had it too and you basically knew you were gonna die, you would probably freak out too. But they are just so over the top, like too much energy to be freaking out this bad. Like in the original, when she gets sick, she's just kind of like tired and in and out of it, and they just realize she's sick, same way, but realize she's sick and just kind of take her out to the shed. In this, they basically have to like force her out to the shed, and she is just like full on having a freak out. Other characters freaking out and yelling, and it was just, again, too over the top, far too dramatic. Like just tone it down a little bit. And honestly, the movie felt long to me. It was weird. I looked it up. It's only about 6-ish minutes longer than the original, but for whatever reason, it just felt long. And I couldn't really tell you why. I can't really pinpoint any specific time where they dragged everything out for too long. There's just little places here and there where certain scenes were a bit longer, and it just overall made the film just feel so much longer. And that's kind of one of the things I like about the original, is that everything's pretty fast-paced. From, the moment they get to the cabin, they meet the first infected guy, and things just go basically from there. And yeah, this movie just works better when it's at a faster pace. For whatever reason, this just felt so much longer. And the biggest thing that annoyed me, they cut out the scene at the end when he gets hit, when Paul's character gets squished by a bus. And that is like the perfect ending to a film, and they completely cut it out of this one. It was such a bummer. I was like, oh, come on. It's like one of the coolest death scenes, like, at the end of a film ever. So that was probably my biggest annoyance with this film. But my overall feelings about this film is that we could do without it. The original Cabin Fever is such a great film and really just still, in my opinion, holds up to this day. There's really no need to recreate this film. If you've seen the remake and you have not seen the original Cabin Fever, I highly suggest that you go watch it. It is available on Netflix in the US, both versions, and Cabin Fever 2 is on there, I believe, as well. So you can watch both on Netflix. If you do not have Netflix, there will be an affiliate link in the description below to both the original and the remake. So if you want to check both of them out, you definitely can. I am going to go ahead and give this movie a rating. It's kind of hard to do because, again, it's a scene for scene remake. So that's what I'm going to base it off of. Like I said in the beginning of this video, the original Cabin Fever is one of my favorite movies. So it's not a rate on the script or idea of the story or anything. It's just particularly on this remake. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a stupidity leak, which is a 2 out of 5. I just don't feel like it was necessary to remake this movie. We already had Cabin Fever. You didn't need to remake it. But I hope that you guys did enjoy this review. Again, make sure that you head on over to Vicky's channel to check out her review of the original Cabin Fever, and make sure that you give this video a big old thumbs up if you did like it, and make sure to hit subscribe for more horror related content, and I will be back later with another video. Bye.